All right, it is my pleasure now to bring up onto the stage once again Dr. Raphael Sonnenschein, the Executive Director of the Pat Brown Institute.
We're almost done. We're at the very end of our evening, and thank you for the hearty souls who are here. We're really almost finished with our evening. We have a couple of important things to do. One is to give away the floral display on your table. It's very simple. It's going to be a little bit of a contest that will be easier to win if you're the only person at your table. Rules are rules. It's like the primary and caucus system. You know, it's just not fair, but them's the rules. Whoever's birthday is closest to April 21st will get that. So take a moment to just decide who at your table is the closest. Are you April 21st? You're kidding me. It's yours. Okay, have we concluded this contest yet? Is it you? April 21st? Okay. I didn't say it was fair, it's arbitrary, but it works. Okay, now, why, thank you. Why is April 21st important? Because April 21st was Pat Brown's birthday. And this evening, of course, is April 21st, and we were delighted for many historical reasons to have our dinner this evening, because it turns out, by digging into the history of the Pat Brown Institute, of these 35 annual dinners, not all of them look like this. Before 1992, the dinners were birthday parties for Pat Brown. And you can only imagine, and there's some old photos lying around in the files, there were occasional black tie events, there was sometimes music and all kinds of things going on. So in the spirit of that, I've asked two very special people who are board members of the Pat Brown Institute, but also knew Pat Brown personally and worked with him over the years. And I'm going to bring them both up. Their names are Jim Galbraith and Nat Travis. Would you both come forward, please? It has always baffled me that the more distinguished and accomplished people are, the less they want said about them when they are introduced. And without talking to each other, they both gave me about 12 words to say about themselves, which I consider outrageous because all the rest of us try to puff up our resumes with, you know, participation awards from our soccer leagues and things like that. Nat Travis, who I've known for many years, it's not in his resume, but he's known as Mr. Santa Monica. I'm a Santa Monica resident, and everybody in Santa Monica knows Nat Travis. He's the vice chair of the PBI Board of Advisors, emeritus professor of criminal justice at Cal State LA, and there's a whole lot of stories that go with that. Distinguished alum at Cal State LA and former mayor of the city of Santa Monica and a police officer in this, not now, in the city of Santa Monica. But I have to say, a person whose career we could spend the whole evening on, as well as with Jim Galbraith. Jim Galbraith says he has a background in journalism, government, and corporate affairs, and a longtime member of the Conrad Hilton Foundation Board of Directors. Now, it really outrages me that I can't brag about them more than what they were willing to have me say, but I will respect their wishes to say, but I'm going to tell you, regardless of what they say, I know. They're two of the most accomplished and important people I've had the pleasure of meeting in my 4 years at the Pat Brown Institute. I'm very proud to know both of them. I can also count on them for unvarnished advice on anything. And they're laughing. They know. They'll tell me exactly what is right and wrong to do. I've asked each of them to spend just a couple of minutes with a recollection or two about Pat Brown while we show some pictures up on the screen that we've been rotating. One of which is a clip from Sasha Rice's movie that shows him eating a piece of birthday cake. But these are just pictures of Pat Brown, but these people actually knew Pat Brown and had some sense of his personality. At which point, we are going to have everyone stand afterwards, and we're going to have a toast to Pat Brown's birthday, and we're going to sing a song, but it will not be Happy Birthday to You. At this point in the evening. There just has to be some suspense. So we'll see what the song's going to be. Nat, would you please go first?
Thank you. Nat Travis. Thank you. My reflections on Governor Brown, they start with the fact that I'm an octogenarian, folks, who stands before you blessed to say that 111 years ago, Pat Brown was born. Now that's, think about that. I honor him as one of the greatest governors in the history of this great state of California. My career in law enforcement allowed me my first access to him in the governor's office. When I was the vice president of the California organization called Peace Officers Research Association of California, the largest police union in the state of California, I would join with members of our legislative committee to make the rounds in the key legislative offices in support of legislation supporting law enforcement initiatives that we're putting forth. Back in those days, our committee would literally write the legislation and the bill, and when we'd go to the hearings, we'd be sitting in the back of the room seeing how much editing had been done. Many times, not one word was changed. I joined the members in the governor's office, and we were always well received by Governor Brown. And that's not always the case when you come in asking for something, pensions and money and stuff like that. And then I thought, guess what? His wife, Bernice, her dad was a captain on the San Francisco Police Department. And I have a hunch the reason the governor signed so many bills that we had presented to him was just that. Let's fast forward to the 80s. When Governor's former Chief of Staff, Frank Cullen, was searching for a home for the Pat Brown Institute, we'd meet over in Century City and so on and so forth. We hadn't come to Cal State LA. He thought Cal State LA would be the best place for it. And if you've been listening to what's said here tonight, you clearly understand the wisdom of Frank Cullen. I mean, this place is the most diverse one, state universities in the system, and it's right in the center. If you drop a ball right on University Road, 5 miles of that is the largest population of law enforcement people, and largest population of needy people, largest population of color, all right here in Cal State LA. So we were blessed. Now, he used to come out here with his assistant, Barbara Marcus, to the university, and Barbara would call me, and what I would do, I would have the campus police, because he's way up in age now, and to walk all the way over to the Kennedy Library was quite a task. So I still remember the big grin on his face when the governor's seated in the back of a black and white police car, the campus police car, and driven down the sidewalk over right up to the elevator. And he was waving like he's in a campaign mode. It was a wonderful opportunity. And my final recollection or reflection was in Santa Monica. Governor Pat used to treat his family to a birthday celebration every April. And they'd come to an ice cream parlor on Wilshire Boulevard in Santa Monica, where I had the great fortune to attend more than one of those parties. These events always were the precursor to their annual family retreat in Hawaii. What a great man to remember today of his birth. And guess what? I'm the lucky one in this room. Thank you.
Well, I'm batting cleanup, I guess. Yeah.
That you are.
Knock it out of the park.
Well, Governor Brown was someone who knew how to run very, very hard for office, make campaign promises, and then, hard to believe these days, actually reach across the aisle and get things done. I remember Pat as an Irish Paul, and I knew that he could well mix politics and laughs. For example, for all of his accomplishments as governor, he still knew how to lose. when he took a drubbing from Ronald Reagan and lost the governorship, he smiled and said, "The voters failed to appreciate my greatness." He once told me a world-class political yarn, and I'd like to share it with you. It involved his gubernatorial campaign against Richard Nixon in 1962. The Nixon-Brown campaign was a ferocious affair, and the governor told me there was one day that was particularly fiery. Nixon announced he had something on Pat Brown, and Nixon scheduled a press conference in Sacramento to make it public. Late one night, Governor Brown arrived at the Mission Inn in Riverside. Exhausted and alone at the end of a grueling campaign day, he climbed into bed and fell asleep. In the middle of the night, he rolled over and his arm fell across the body of a woman sleeping next to him. Shocked, angry, still fuming about what Nixon had said about that press conference, Pat spit out the words, "Nixon, that SOB, he's planted a woman in bed with me." Suddenly, Pat realized the woman next to him was his loving wife, Bernice. He had forgotten she was to join him in the hotel. Knowing he was drained from the campaign, she thoughtfully had not awakened him on her late arrival. She had quietly slipped into his bed, only to be mistaken hours later as Nixon's other woman. Pat roared when he told me that story. And as it turned out, Nixon's press conference did not have a disclosure of a salacious manner or anything pivotal in the campaign. And of course, Pat won. Nixon, though, was now freed from governing California. He went on the speaking circuit, picked up a lot of IOUs, and won the presidency 6 years later. By that time, Pat had been defeated by Ronald Reagan, who later converted his political visibility as California's governor into being elected President of the United States. As Pat Brown said, laughing as usual, if he had not been there at critical times in their political careers, 2 Republicans would never have made it to the White House. Happy birthday, Pat.
I would like to ask everybody to rise and hold a glass. And this will be a toast for the birthday of a great man, Pat Brown, former governor of California. And we will sing together. Hit it, maestro. Good fellow, for he's a jolly good fellow, for he's a jolly good fellow. Nobody can deny, nobody can deny, for he's a jolly good fellow, for he's a jolly good fellow, for he's a jolly good fellow, can deny. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank Michelle Tuzzi, our Master of Ceremonies, who had to leave early, our honorees, and our guests, and all of you, and have a wonderful evening. Thank you for coming. Drive safely, and we'll see you next year.
Thank you. You guys.